Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this regular Board of Education meeting to order at 5:36. We do have only 4 board members present, so we are in workshop mode for now. We're not going to be voting on anything until we have a quorum. But please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, and now we have our quorum. Public comment. We have no one in the room with us tonight. Any public comment online? Seeing none, we can move to item number 4, which is correspondence. I did receive an email from a resident that I forwarded to the board earlier today with her thoughts on the budget. Troy, do you have anything for correspondence?
I don't.
Okay. All right. Moving on to old business. The only item there is our budget. I don't think there's too much for us to talk about. We had the budget hearing on Monday. There wasn't really any unusual discussion. Some comments about technology that made me think that I think I'm going to adjust my presentation at the town meeting to talk about how we're using technology in the classroom. The focus of the conversations and the comments are generally about like why our kids shouldn't be on the screen all the time. And I want to maybe have a better explanation of what our kids are doing with technology, and maybe that'll help people feel better. Tonight, the Board of Finance is going to meet right after us at 7. I'll stay for that to see if they're going to ask us to make any adjustments. I don't really anticipate them based on the hearing making adjustments. And if they don't, I will cancel the meeting for tomorrow. I don't think that I have anything else about budget. Does anybody else have stuff about the budget they want to talk about? Okay. Moving on to new business, there was the audit that was completed. It was completed a little later than usual this year. And I sent out the report to everyone. Troy had pulled out and included in the agenda the management letter recommendations. Troy, I don't know if you or Kathy want to walk us through this stuff.
Yeah, I think we can do that. Maybe Kathy more so than me, but Brandon, could we get up that PowerPoint? It's open. Just for visual, so people at home can see.
I don't think it's any surprise to any of us that we've had tremendous turnover both here and at the town offices in the accounting system group. So most of these reconciliations and issues are because there was nobody there at town hall to book the entries and so forth. Right now we have Suzanne and Melissa who have done an amazing job of getting up to date and reconciling with us. And we continue to reconcile on a monthly basis. I can't speak for Melissa, but I believe she's caught up through September and plugging right along to get everything up to date. So in terms of the final trial balance not being in agreement, we didn't have the staff over at town hall to finish it, but it is up to date. We did tie out to the penny. Yay. Cafeteria fund invoice approval. The cafeteria fund is a separate accounting system on QuickBooks version 2013, unsupported. And when I get a bill, what I normally do is I process a check and then I have Troy sign it and I sign it because it's usually for $10,000 or $20,000 per month. I don't John Hancock the invoice because I'm the person who got the invoice, put it in the system, ran the check and got the 2 signatures on it. So I was a little surprised that they said that disbursements weren't approved because they most certainly were approved. The check was signed by two people. But whatever, we'll start signing the little invoices so that's documented. Bank reconciliations not being up to date. We all remember the $40,000 list of stale checks. We've gone through it. We've cleared it. We closed out that old cash account from last year. We started fresh with a new cash account. I reconcile it every month and I send my reconciliation to Melissa at the town hall so that she has it and we're in sync. We're good. And the final recommendation, reconciliation between the EGMS, the grant management system, and the Board of Education. I believe there was like an $11,000 variance between what was reported in the grant system and what was reported in the ledger. And I honestly, in talking to the auditors, I said, I don't think it's material enough for me to have to go back and change it when I don't know what comprised these numbers and why they were reported the way they were reported. Like, if I'm going to change something, I want to understand why I'm going to change it. And they said, yep, no problem. And then I got this in writing that I got to change it. I'm still not clear on how I would go about doing it or why I would be doing it, but I'll get it done. That was it for the audit. I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't, a little tougher, but
I think, Kathy, that the stuff that, I mean, at least from my perspective, when I was reading, you're right, they weren't surprising things. They're things that you came into that were much bigger issues, and I think that you've been sort of working them out. And there's turnover in your office, there's turnover at town hall,
and a lot of the variances, for example, in the student activity fund, there's a variance in the reconciliation. And they said, you have to fix it. I'm like, that variance has been there for 3 years. 3 years, folks, and you're just telling me now that you want me to fix it? So in order to get this under better control, so the activities fund is on Harris software, 2006, no longer supported. I can't even do anything with it. So I'm converting it to QuickBooks along with the scholarship and the lunch to an online QuickBooks where Mariella and I will both be able to maintain it, not just one person. And in doing that, I'm reconciling the activity to figure out what that variance was and to get it back on track. So that when I come to you folks in a month and give you a report on the student activity account, I'll know what the heck is going on. Because right now, the data is just so difficult to extract because the system isn't supported. So we need to get it updated. And I do hope to have that done by the end of next week, I hope. So that's it for the audit.
well, that's really good.
Yeah.
Thank you. And they also told us our official deposit into non-lapsing, I think, right?
It's about $10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions in regards to the audit? Okay. Move on to the food service audit.
Now this one's a little more complex. I'm emotionally fragile after the lady came. She was tough. So we had our first review in 7 years. Last time they did a review was 7 years ago. And our policies and procedures, can you put that slide up, are not up to date. They don't use the proper language or anti-discrimination terms and so forth and so on. So you'll see in the packet that Troy gave us, we have a multitude of findings and corrective action that is required. This lovely book here is all of everything that I've revised and uploaded to the state website to answer these issues by April 30th. The only thing I have not completed is we need to resurrect the wellness committee. We're meeting next week. So once that gets resurrected, then all of our policies that are on our website will be updated to reflect the wellness committee. What I concentrated on was policies and procedures for the accounting department. so that if I got hit by a bus, the next person coming in, if they need to go through and look at how do I do reduced and free verifications, and it's a step-by-step manual with an example of the letter that needs to go out and what needs to be done. So up on the screen, we have the findings. Policies and procedures were either non-existent or outdated. They didn't contain the proper language. Wellness committee was no longer in place. Staff had not received training. Connecticut takes their training very seriously. Mariella and I both did 12 hours of online training so that we can properly administer the school nutrition program. And Mariella had to do it also because you have to have a backup. It can't just be me. It has to be a backup. So we both did it. Another thing that came up is our weighted average between the two schools price for lunch is $3.07. And the mandated average is $3.85. So we haven't raised our prices in 5 years, and they're looking at us like, you're not even where you need to be. And so we're going to need to, before school starts again in the fall, take a look at our lunch ticket price. And I'm recommending that we at least get it to what they mandate as the average. The reason we hadn't really been raising it is because we have about $100,000 in excess operating revenue. And mostly that's because everything we had at the school is new. So we're not replacing it all. We're just starting to replace it. We just replaced the freezer for $8,000. So we've been offering reduced lunch and free lunch over the past year or two to reduce that balance. Well, the state said we need a plan. We need an active plan of how you're going to do this. And so I think it's if you just flip to the next screen real quick. So I came up with, for the $98,000, what are we going to do over the course of the next 12 to 16 months to use our surplus? And you can only use it on certain things. You can't, they're very particular. Like we wanted an awning so that when they're coming with the food, they don't get soaking wet. And no, that's not going to work. So really what we're putting our monies in is the quality of the food. We've asked Aramark to purchase, better chicken and healthier fruit or fresher fruit and things like that. And by putting the money into it, they've reported back to me that the kids are already saying, wow, this is a lot different than it was. I don't know if you guys hear that, but so we're trying to get the quality of the food up. But once the surplus is all used, that's when your ticket price is really going to matter, because we want to keep the quality of the food up. And you can't do that at $3.09 per meal. So these are just a few of the things that we came up with. Things like induction burners and serving utensils. And we needed a new freezer because it's been broken. And there's one more page to it too. Something as silly as a vegetable slicer. The reason that's so important is right now they're cutting it by hand. And you cut a tomato up and you're throwing it away, half of it. So if you have a vegetable slicer that does it automatically, you're not wasting. There's no waste. It's a lot of these things are to reduce, cutting up lettuce and throwing things. It's just to get as much out of the food as you can without being wasteful. So it took me, the word of lie, 6 tries to get this approved by the state. They finally approved and gave me an extension into May of 2026 to get those monies into our system. If you go back to the very first slide, Brandon. Another thing, nope, that's the financial audit. Back one more. Oh. So we do have an active plan that's been approved for the operating balance. The corrective action taken, I've updated procedures, letters, everything. The policies will be updated in conjunction with the wellness committee meeting again. We'll start meeting on April 30th. Both myself and Mariella have completed online training and testing. Friday night fun. Recommend that we talk about an increase in and the price for next year. And I'm providing you with the plan. It was actually, it was a tremendous amount of work. But at the same time, it was a great learning opportunity for me to go through it all. For example, who knew? I'm the collection agency for the lunch tickets. We had $18,000 in unpaid charges. Parents didn't even know that their kids were, they send little Tommy with a lunchbox of nutritious food, and Tommy's like, yeah, no, I want pizza. And he charges it, and he doesn't tell mom or dad, and next thing you know, they have a $500 bill.
18,000 for this
Kathy-
year?
Yeah,
Kathy called many parents.
I called, I emailed, yeah, and you can't, you have to be persistent and at the same time, not obnoxious. So it's a fine line. But we've got it down. I think it's about, $4,000 or $5,000 right now. So it's gone down a lot. But the key to this is if we don't collect it, we can't use that excess fund to pay it off. We have to take it out of our operating budget. So we're going to have to give something up somewhere if we're not collecting this money. I think once we get it up to date and we have a system in place where we're looking at it and reaching out to families on a more proactive basis, then we'll do much better. So it was very much a learning opportunity for both Mariella, Troy, myself. And I think we're on track. And I don't think they'll be back for 7 more years.
I gotta just emphasize the amount of work this was for Kathy to do all this. Once we got this report and we included it so you could see all the action steps that need to be taken. And Kathy's been checking them off one by one and really hammering them out. And on top of everything else that she has to do, budget, and which is a big project in itself, as you know, and other things. So, and we were just lucky to be selected for this audit, right,
Lucky.
Kathy?
Pure luck.
You feel very lucky, yeah.
Very lucky. My first year. One thing I did ask Troy to give you is a copy of the meal charging policy that I wrote up. And if you don't have to vote on it today, but if you would, take it home, read it, drive it around the flagpole, get a feel for it, and come back at the next meeting with any questions you have, then we can make changes or approve it. The second thing that I asked him to give you was the healthy food certification. Every year as participants in the nutrition, the lunch program, we have to certify that we're going to have healthy food options. So there are 3 different votes that we have to do, or we can combine 2 and 3 into 1. But by all means, take a look and we can vote on it next time.
Yeah, so those are items we could put on the agenda for next time because they relate to the policy items that I put it later on the agenda. And it's really was just, when we get to that point, it's really for you to just kind of be alerted that these are coming up.
Kathy, thank you for your work on this.
Yeah.
It looks like it was a ton. But also, thanks for trying to make school lunches a little better for the kids.
Well, yeah. I
That's
hear they're
great.
brown. That's all I hear. But the Aramark, especially kudos to the ladies in the cafeteria. They work really hard and do a great job. So it's kind of rewarding to say, hey, spend more money on some better food because they
That's
take
what
pride in
wanna
what they do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Well, thank you for that effort. Wonderful.
Sorry, can I ask a couple questions?
Of course.
What was that robot coop?
Yep, that's it's like a lettuce. Well, it does a lot of different things, but
Oh, cool.
one of the things it would do is shred lettuce so that you're not cutting it by hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
No, I echo this. I think having better quality food is key.
Yes.
Especially from some of the stories that I've heard.
Right.
So,
Yep.
my other thing is I think I fall into that category of parents that don't know that their children is spending money. So do you think this will be like a monthly thing that will be sent out? Like, how do you anticipate?
I look at it every week and initially it was like, if you owed $5, I was contacting you. And then a parent was a little upset with me. So I raised it to 25 and above and I reach out. And if I don't hear back, I send another email. If I don't hear back, I make a phone call. The problem is I have to document everything according to the rules and regulations. It all has to be documented. And then if a family continues to, you can't turn a child down, but if they continue not to pay, there are certain steps that you have to take, for example, referring them to a food pantry or giving them information on SNAP benefits and things like that. So it's not as easy as just saying, hey, can you put money in your food
Mhm.
account? Because when they don't respond, that's when it gets tough, because that's when you have to start sending the certified letters and so forth.
But how do you know if this is happening?
How do you mean you as a parent?
Yeah.
Um, I think what we need to do, and we've talked about this, is at the beginning of the school year, we need to better communicate how the school lunch program works and where parents go to see what their kids are charging. Because you can go to My School Bucks and
Okay.
see exactly what your kid's eating. And
Okay. So that's what you would advise parents to check My School Bucks first and then contact you if there's an issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
found a
but I-
lot of
but I-
chocolate milk charges.
yeah,
What's
when I
that?
looked. A lot of chocolate milk.
Yeah. I mean, I think parents don't know, and I
they
don't think they
don't.
know the protocol for like, how do we reconcile this?
And honestly, even to go on My School Bucks, I think it charges you a fee to put money on. And you could give your child a check, if you had checks, or cash in an envelope to the registrar. And we can add it on without the fee. So some of those options, as we head into the new school year and we communicate the school lunch program, we want to think through those so that we have better communication with our families.
I was going to ask about the school bucks, actually. I haven't had a kid in school in a couple of years now, but we utilize the school bucks and I would fund it, around every month or whatever. And if it started to get like below $5, I remember getting emails.
Right, yep.
So I'm just wondering do not all parents sign up for the school bucks? Because I always knew
Yeah. Nope.
if I was short or if I was running low and I would just
They're
fund it.
they automatically have a My School Bucks account, whether they access it or just give their child cash to put on it or whatever. I'm not sure, but it's been, some difficult conversations with kids, just charging and mom and dad didn't know.
And I guess I shouldn't be surprised, according to you, about the amount, about the 18,000. Yeah, but between the school bucks notification and I know Stacy at the elementary school, if kids get low, she's sending home a letter like each week until like, hey, just to remind you to pay this. So I know that she's been on top of it to get that done too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I was just a little surprised.
Yeah, it's tough. We're gonna get it. We'll get it back on track.
Oh, as a parent, I think I've totally forgotten. So, and I haven't gotten any communication. So I will check My School Bucks.
You're good.
Well,
I've already done it. You didn't get an
And-
email.
you're saying that those emails do go out automatically for My School Bucks?
If you,
Okay.
I think you have to select a low balance notification. And when you do that,
Okay.
it will tell you that you have a low
Is
balance.
there any way to make that an auto opt-in?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the.
Like when you sign up
yeah.
for it, it automatically says you're gonna get that notification. 'Cause I
Well,
think
What I hear
some people
most
sometimes
is,
miss that.
what I hear most is, I don't want my kid to have the ability to charge. You need to shut them off. And so we really should, you don't want to turn a kid down who's hungry, but at
Right.
the same time, you don't want to, rack up a $400 bill and then tell mom and dad, your kid's not eating that lunch. So I see the parent's point in saying, shut my kid off. But it's a conversation that needs to be had at home. And we
Agreed.
just need to relay that.
Any other questions or comments for Kathy and Troy about the school lunch audit? Okay, thank you both again. I know that was a lot of work and sort of a surprise. Moving on to 6C, student transportation town view.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide the board an update on this topic. And Brandon, can you go to the last slide in that PowerPoint presentation? So it's showing, okay, it's showing up, but not here. Okay. Well, I can
There you go.
describe it.
Here it is.
There it is. Okay. So I wanted to just kind of let people know what the situation is. So the situation is this. Last year, or towards the beginning of this school year, the town decided that they were gonna give us almost full-time use of this 8-passenger van that we'd been using periodically the year before. And so we've been using that on a regular basis throughout this school year. And it's been really helpful. And I think it has saved money really, because we didn't have to then contract with M&J to take, a lot of small trips. And as you may remember, we had a capital list where we had a couple vehicles on it. One was a meals van, which M&J ended up donating. And the other one was a 15-passenger van, student activity van, which we then took off the list. And it was fine because the town was saying, all right, we can have pretty much full-time use of this 8-passenger van. That's great. And bonus, you have a larger vehicle that you can also use. Okay. Now, so we've been using the 8-passenger van regularly. We have 4 staff to have an appropriate license to drive it. And what you need is a endorsement on your license. And you actually need that A endorsement up to a 15-passenger van. That includes the driver, by the way. And that's what I had on the capital list. But we're happy to also have access to the 20-passenger bus that the town owns. Now, we didn't actually have it on the school property until about a month ago because we didn't have a spot big enough to put it. And then when we started to look into, all right, how do we actually go about using it? I had two really good meetings with the first selectman, Barb Carlson, and Alan Ladd, town facilities director. And we worked this out. Kathy actually did some research as well. I actually called DMV myself and got the confirmation that in order to drive that 20-passenger bus, you do need a CDL and both A and P endorsements. And we also need specific signage on it, which Alan Ladd is taking care of currently. He needs to be saying carrying school children on the back and the front. It has to have phone numbers on each side, I believe seating capacity. And it has a special inspection that's due annually. And then there are quarterly inspections that also have to be done. But I think working with the town, we're going to be able to do all of that. The issue we're going to run into, and I don't think it's a big issue because we could just probably find drivers with a CDL to drive it when we need to do that. But that means likely paying them because we have one person on staff now with a CDL, happens to be athletic director. She can't simultaneously drive this somewhere for the off site for 2 or 3 hours and be athletic director. Sometimes it can happen. And I think sometimes that could definitely work, but I just want to be clear that we may need to hire drivers if we want to use it more frequently. And the town is also double checking on the insurance that they have on that to make sure it's covered for not only students to be transported, but for if the driver is our employee versus the driver being a contracted employee from somewhere else. So we're just trying to make sure it all works. But this is the update that I have right now. I also, and I think people have mentioned that maybe there's a little disappointment in not using some of these more and earlier. So am I. I'm also disappointed that we're not utilizing these assets more and we haven't been. But I think we're getting there. And we have, like I said, we've been using the 8-passenger van on a regular basis, and that's been really helpful. If we could start using the 20-passenger bus, that could be helpful too. And helpful, when I'm saying helpful, I'm talking about convenience and efficiency and school spirit. And we've talked about that before, about like getting it like labeled with the Wheeler Lion and all that, both things. And I want to do that, but we didn't honestly, that wasn't possible in the budget with what we were dealing with this year, right? But I think that we could do that, and maybe through donations even, or, North Stonington organizations that, give money. I won't name any specific ones here, but I think we can get there, and I think it could be a really nice asset for the school. In terms of savings of using that larger vehicle. I don't quite know if there's gonna be savings because we have to likely pay the driver or often pay the driver. Plus, we pay for the gas. And then there'd probably be some cost that we may need to share with the town regarding the inspections that have to happen periodically and that type of stuff. But I think all of that can be worked out. But anyway, that's the update. Just wanted to share that.
Does anybody have questions?
You say you're putting signage on now. Is that permanent signage, magnetic signage? I know we have buses and transport vans like that as well, and we've been able to work it where it's a magnetic that goes on and goes on the side, so it allows for us to take it on, take it off, and that might be, if you're talking about a cost-effective option for it, that might be the way to do that.
It might be, I know that the town personnel were looking into that, and it had to be, certain size letters, and I
Mhm.
think we might have been looking at stickers, but the magnets is a really good idea, especially if they don't like blow off.
No, they
And
don't.
you can keep them on and then you can take them off as needed. I think it's a great idea, so I
Quick
can definitely
question.
pass that around.
If they're using, if they get the stickers on it, does it affect when the senior center uses it?
That's why I was
Because if
saying
they're
magnetic.
using it and they're not carrying school children, but we have the, like, does it have to be magnetic, like Ryan's saying, so that,
I think it just
I don't
needs to,
know.
they need to be black and a certain height, like I think 4 inches or 6 inches. I can't remember.
right? but
I,
then when
I
the
don't,
senior
I don't, I
center
don't, I don't think it
borrows
matters
it-
because if you notice, I mean, you can see vehicles for schools on the road with
Yeah.
nobody in them except the driver. And it's not like they have to be like, oh, now we have to take off the carrying school children. As long as it's a vehicle that's set up for it, you're fine.
But even those curtain, like livery vehicles, they always have those on, that slap on saying carrying school children.
Can I ask a very ignorant question? It, instead of hiring a driver, could the district support a staff member to get these licenses?
Or
Coaches? Would that be
I-
more?
Yeah, I actually talked to someone today. I won't name the person, but they were interested in getting their CDL if we could fund it. So I think it's a good idea and I think it's very possible to do that. It does require, I don't understand all of it, but there's a lot to maintain that CDL. There's a lot required as well. And so there might be more annual fees and.
My understanding, because I looked into this
Oh.
at one point previously, is that as long as you don't have stops on the road, there's a difference in the process for your CDL, because if you have to stop on the road, it's a significantly more consistent, it's a yearly thing that you have to do and whatnot. And otherwise, what it is a once every 5 years or so sort of a deal to be able to get your piece. So if what we're doing is we're transporting from the school to a location where we are going to be having a sporting event, it's a different situation than what you have to get to be able to
But-
be stopping on the road to drop and pick up
Yeah,
kids.
that's actually correct. And there's an endorsement called the V endorsement, which actually one of our staff members has that, and they're able, because with the V endorsement, you can pick a kid up from home and bring them to school and back to home from school. But with an A endorsement, you can't. An A endorsement, you can drive them to field trips and to sporting events, but you need to have the V endorsement to do the home, the school transport. But with the V endorsement, you can also do the field trips and the sports. So it's like A endorsements here, V endorsements here to higher up, and you can do everything A endorsement can. That's what the DMV person explained to me. So yeah, you're right. There's a different licensing for regular transport to home.
Any other questions or comments for Troy on the transportation? Okay.
No, I my only comment would be that I would be certainly in support of us using, whether it be non-lapsing or whatever else, to be able to support CDL, endorsements for coaches or staff members who would be willing to have this be a piece of what they're doing. So I just put that out there.
So moving on to our minute approval. I think it looks like two different items, but I meant it for just be one consent agenda with all of those minutes to approve, unless anyone needs to take any of those minutes off the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve our consent agenda for minutes 312, 324, 42, and 47 of 2025.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'd just like to say, I like the summary at the beginning. I think that's spectacular. It was really nice to be able to kind of have that. I think for us, it doesn't matter as much, but I think for the public, it's a really great way to be able to quickly look at our minutes and know if they want to search that video, go into that, if that's something that matters to them, and find things more quickly. So
I agree. I love the format. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Same. Okay, perfect.
Can I give Brandon some compliments
Yes,
on
please.
these minutes? Brandon did a really nice job coming in. This is his 4th week on the job. He came in, he had to get minutes done for meetings that occurred before he was even employed here. And he's done a really nice job with these minutes. And you can see now that he's relieving Chet of the technology duties while he is also doing minutes. So he's a
that's
multitasker.
really why I showed up late tonight. It wasn't that I'd forgotten that we were at 5:30 instead of 6:30. It was I wanted to, make sure that
You're testing the new.
I
format.
wanted to see how it went down.
Thanks, Brandon. It's really, it's super helpful to have you running the tech on the meetings as well as that new format. It's really great. Okay. And on to the policies that Troy alluded to earlier. So you want us just to look at these? You don't want us to vote on them?
No,
tonight?
I don't want you to vote on them tonight, but I'd like to just point a couple things out
Sure.
on them and why we need to update them.
Yep.
And of course, Kathy has this nice draft on a meal charging policy, which we'll bring to you next time to probably vote on. Okay, but I wanted to give you like what we had currently, right? Because you like that, right? So, and it makes sense. All right, so if you look at it, I wrote like current on it. And one of the things in the audit, looking at the first current one, it's 3542.31, the free and reduced lunch prices one. And it's multiple pages. Same number, it kind of goes on to this, the second page. And you see, I highlighted the term needy student, needy children. They thought that was an old term to be using and that we needed to upgrade. So that's one of the reasons we got to upgrade that particular policy. And regarding the meal charging policy.
I hate to step in, but I just want to point out that that's a regulation, not a policy, and shouldn't even be in there.
Hang on.
So what has the meals for needy children? If you look at the end of it, it states regulation approved on 2007. Our other one was updated 2019. So that regulation should have been removed at that point.
All right, good point. All right, so we.
So that can just go away.
Yeah, it can. We still have it on our CABE site. But yeah, you're right. Good catch. But because it was still on our site when we got audited, the auditor looked at that. They saw those words and said you shouldn't have those words.
So we could just get rid of that regulation altogether. We don't
Sounds
need to
like
update it.
Sounds like.
Okay.
It sounds like possibly that's, let Kathy and I go back and look to be sure about what they're recommending in the audit, and we can bring it to you next time. But I think that's likely just eliminating that. But it might be the reduced and free lunch prices one still needs to be updated. The policy itself, I think does. So we can eliminate the regulation probably, but maybe still update the policy. And then the other policy is about participation in the lunch program. The charging policy, which Kathy gave to us. We needed to update this because there's a couple things ours doesn't have that's required and are now in what we'll bring to you next time and what Kathy has here. And that's like making sure that there is a procedure for collecting money from families. And also making sure the kid is not in the middle. You know, and so our language doesn't include those things. And I think that there's one other piece that's not coming to you right now. But that's why we need to update that policy. So these policies, we're just giving you a heads up that we got to update them. We'll bring them to you clearly next time about here's the one we're recommending. And it's because of the food service audit.
I'm gonna ask one question, because there is a regulation in the current cafeteria charging policy about shortened day policy. And I
Yes.
know there's language at the end of the second paragraph that says all meals would be eaten on site. And I know that came up in other schools' audits, and that is actually from the state. So I'm wondering if that actually meets, while we say we aren't keeping regulations in, should we be talking about keeping that in some way, shape, or form? Because the state auditors will say food can't be taken on those shortened days. They must be eaten on site. I've seen that come up in a couple of audits of schools. So I don't know if that's something. we
It
wanna
doesn't
keep in
necessarily
policy.
need to stay in the policy though, because we also have a regulation book. So there's,
Okay.
we have a binder with regulation, or we should have a binder with regulations. Wherein those pieces are in play. So as long as they're producible, I think you're fine. But there's no reason not to put it in there if we want to put the language in, but.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about that next time when you're looking to approve the policies. You know, one possibility is we could probably include that shortened day paragraph or paragraphs in the policy if we felt like it belonged. But it's a charging policy. I don't think it necessarily belongs in the charging policy, so maybe it is separate. But Kathy and I can look at it and we can bring it to you clearly next time, and Lisa and chat, maybe we could get together before next time and talk about some of this and iron it out. And maybe look at a few other policies as well.
So you don't need any action from us today?
No, I don't need any action from you
Okay.
tonight on the policies.
All right. Well, I think that brings us to the close of our agenda. Does still no public here. Does anyone online have any public comment tonight? I don't see any. So with that, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Good night, everyone.